Presynaptic 5Ht1A receptors in the RAPHE are also accelerators for dopamine release in the striatum. As we know, the 5Ht1A receptors can be presynaptic on the dendrites and cell bodies of serotonin neurons in the midbrain RAPHE. These autoreceptors cause a slowing of neuronal impulse flow through the serotonin neurons and a reduction of serotonin release from its axon terminal. The downregulation and desensitization of these presynaptic 5Ht1A somatodendritic autoreceptors are thought to be critical to the antidepressant actions of the drugs that block serotonin reuptake. When serotonin occupies a presynaptic 5Ht1A somatodendritic autoreceptor, it turns off serotonin neuron. As a consequence of this, serotonin is not released onto postsynaptic 5Ht2A receptors on nigrostriatal neurons, activation of which would ordinarily inhibit dopamine release in the striatum. This allows the nigrostriatal dopamine neurons to be active and thus to release dopamine in the striatum. Pre- and postsynaptic 5Ht1A receptors work together to enhance dopamine release in the striatum, and when both are stimulated by certain atypical antipsychotics, this theoretically mitigates EPS. Some atypical antipsychotics have potent 5Ht1A partial agonist properties. In particular, the forementioned two PIPs, namely aripiprazole and brexpiprazole, and the RIP, that is cariprazine. These all have 5Ht1A partial agonist actions not only more potent than their 5Ht2A antagonist actions but comparable to their D2 antagonist actions. Clinically relevant 5Ht1A partial agonist actions are also present in a few penes, especially clozapine and quetiapine, and some of the DONs, especially lurasidone, iloperidone, and ziprasidone. So theoretically, the most dopamine release in striatum and thus fewer EPS may occur when you take your foot off the brake and also step on the accelerator. Therefore, if blocking 5Ht2A receptors is like cutting the brake cables, and if stimulating 5Ht1A receptors is like stepping on the accelerator, this could account for why both of these actions that release dopamine from the striatum might be additive, and thus explaining why atypical antipsychotics have a reduced incidence of EPS. In addition, the atypical antipsychotics with 5Ht1A partial agonist actions that are proven antidepressants such as quetiapine and aripiprazole may be working in part through this mechanism. Now, the mechanism of how a 5Ht1 partial agonist exerts its possible antidepressant efficacy is unknown, but could be linked to release of dopamine and norepinephrine in prefrontal cortex or the potentiation of serotonin levels.